Is storytelling truly valuable? Robert Walker, journalist, would say yeah. Did his own eBay experiment. He purchased 200 objects off of eBay, each for less than $1. He then got 200 friends to write an individual story about each object and then put them back on eBay to resell them. This was his #1 seller. He bought this for 99 cents. I think it's some sort of horse's head, and sold it with a story attached for $69.95. As a matter of fact, he purchased all 200 items for less than $129. And he sold them for over $8,000. So those who tell great stories sell more stuff. Welcome to The Skinny. I'm Duke Mosley, and today we're going to discuss how we can use the science of storytelling to create leverage and put ourselves in the position of the advantaged seller. I'm going to demonstrate what that looks like, and I'm going to sprinkle a few tips along the way. How can stories be so valuable? How can they compel us or inspire us to take action? Before I answer that, I'm going to give you 2 examples. The movies do a great job of this. First example is this movie, one of my all-time favorites, Fight Club with Ed Norton and Brad Pitt. The movie came out in 1999. Great movie, great storyline. It's got all the great elements. It's got some suspense, it's got some empathy, you can relate to some of the characters, and it's got a dark sense of humor. Now, how many of you guys out there after this movie went out and bought the red leather jacket? How many bought the glasses, or how many bought both? This guy. Now, did I buy this jacket and these glasses thinking that I was going to look like Brad Pitt? That was going to be as cool as Brad Pitt? Not really. But you know what? I was emotionally invested, and I bought them anyways. And when I wear this out, and I do wear this outfit out, I feel pretty darn cool. Another great example is this movie, Top Gun. Really good all-around feel-good movie. When this movie came out, Navy recruiting increased by 500%. Now those folks that enlisted, did they think they were going to be Top Gun pilots? Probably not. In the backs of their minds, they had to know it wasn't likely. But they did it anyway. They enlisted. So how is this? 2 words, emotional investment. Emotional investment is when you care about something to the point of vulnerability, knowing that you're not likely going to get what you want, but you do it anyway. You buy it anyway. You go there anyway. How do we increase the emotional investment in other people? We flood their system with hormones, with feel-good hormones. And what's the reaction when we do that? They have increased attention, increased focus, decreased self-regulation. Sometimes they get impulsive. It clouds the line between what they want and what they need. You're probably asking yourself, what do hormones have to do with storytelling? Well, according to David Phillips, there's something called the angel's cocktail. It's 3 hormones, and these 3 hormones increase the amount of emotional investment. The first one is dopamine, the second one is oxytocin, and the third one is endorphins. First hormone is dopamine. So over the next minute or so, I'm going to attempt to increase the level of dopamine running through your system. My wife and I lost a French bulldog, a child to us about 6 months ago. His name was Capone. Tough, very tough for both of us. My wife really struggled going through the grieving process. So I noticed that there was a psychic place about 3 miles from where we lived in a strip mall. So I suggested, hey, let's go see this psychic medium person. Maybe they can help. And so we made an appointment. We went in on Saturday. We walk into this little dingy office and we met Sister Grace. Sister Grace is probably in her 70s, long, stringy, gray, dry hair, lots of jewelry. And she explained to us that she was a medium, that she can contact the dead. So my wife goes back first, Bethany. And about 8 minutes later, she comes back with a look on her face that I hadn't seen in 12 years. I don't know if it was good, bad, happy, sad, fear, didn't know. So then Sister Grace called me back. So I went back and she said, okay, Duke, who would you like to contact? And I said, well, my mother passed away 5 years ago. I'd like to reach out to her. So she grabbed my hands, put them on the table, holding her hands, and she had a little white candle. And she said, close your eyes and think about the last interaction you had with your mother. And I remember that like it was yesterday. And about 9 minutes later, she said, open your eyes. And I noticed there was a tear running down her cheek. And I said, were you able to contact her? And she said, yeah, I was. And I said, would you share with me what she said? And she said, yes, I will. Right now, the level of dopamine in your system is higher than it was a minute ago. Now, I can't tell you what Sister Grace said because I made up about 90% of that story, but that's what it feels like when you have dopamine flowing through your blood. Now, the effects of dopamine is increased attention, increased focus, increased motivation, and increased memory. A tip to increase someone's level of dopamine: add suspense to your story or add a cliffhanger. So the second hormone in the angel's cocktail is oxytocin. I'll try to increase that in you now. So part of the story I told you before about my mother passing away was true. We lost her about 5 years ago. Still to this day, difficult for me to deal with. We were very close. We spoke on a daily basis. Like many of our friends and family do, when they have an issue with their health, they call us because we're in the healthcare industry, so we're going to have the answers. So I asked her to go see a doctor. She called me 3 days later and said, Duke, I have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma cancer, and it's stage 4. And it hit me like a Mack truck. And I remember how she told me. I remember the conversation like it was yesterday. My stepdad gets on the phone. He said, Duke, you need to come home and spend some time with your mom. So went home that night, met her in the hospital the next morning. And I have one of my most painful memories of watching her get chemo. They put her behind this plastic bag thing. They had some tape on her. They gave her chemo through a port in the chest. And I had to stand back for 10 feet with a mask on because it was so toxic. And it's just painful if you have to watch someone you love go through something like that. She ended up passing away about 3 weeks later, the day before her bone marrow transplant was scheduled. And I remember my stepfather called me in the middle of the night and he said, your mother earned her wings today. And for a split second, I thought that was something good, like she made it or she fought through it. And then I realized that she passed away. And to this day, it's tough for me. I miss her dearly. It's just a new normal. And the way I deal with that is I talk to people like I'm talking to you now. And so right now, you probably have a higher level of oxytocin flowing through your brain. You can relate to what I said. You probably know someone that's gone through that. And so with high levels of oxytocin, you feel human. You feel like you're going to bond with somebody else and you just feel relaxed. Now, a tip to increasing the level of oxytocin with someone when you're telling them a story is to create empathy with your character. The third hormone in the angel's cocktail is endorphins. If you've ever seen someone laughing uncontrollably and they can't stop, they probably have a high level of endorphins running through their system. It's truly the feel-good hormone. Now, the effects of a high level of endorphins are you feel relaxed, you have an increased attention span, and you feel somewhat creative. A tip to increasing someone's level of endorphins is you have to make them laugh. If you have a short, funny story or a funny video clip, open the meeting with that. Get them laughing. Or you may ask them to share with you, hey, would everybody please share with me a quick 30-second blip on something that they're proud of this week. Get them in a good mood. Get them feeling good. That's it. I have one challenge for you moving forward. Everybody probably has a business alignment meeting coming up. And let's just say that this customer is concerned about one thing, a reduction in length of stay. So how do we normally tell that story? We do it with data, and it's very, very effective, right? We go and we talk about the ecosystem. We have our 8 to 10 money slides. We talk about the ecosystem. We talk about the surgeons doing the procedures and all the procedures that they're doing and the outcomes and the reduction of open surgery. We say that results in a length of stay savings of 100 days in the last 3 months. But I'm going to challenge you to incorporate the science of storytelling in your next meeting. Consider this. Maybe you go in with one surgeon, Dr. Davis, who has one patient story about Chuck, right? So the surgeon kicks off the meeting and he tells the executives a 2-minute story about Chuck. Chuck is a patient that I wouldn't normally be able to treat because I couldn't do the procedure minimally invasively. However, the XI gave me the capability to do that. So Chuck came in, we did this procedure. Here's the outcome. Chuck went home in 2 days rather than 7 days. And here's a letter from Chuck to me, and he reads the letter. And then we get up and say, Mr. Executive, you have 9 Chucks going through your OR every single day. And you have 15 Dr. Davises working on the XI to give them great outcomes. The result of that in the last 3 months is a length of stay savings of over 100 days. Now I ask you, 5 days from now, which story is that executive going to remember when they have to make a decision? The story about data or the story of Chuck? Now you are a little bit better at storytelling.